So if you're new to this channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button and also click the like button on this video. I know that we're just getting started, but you're probably gonna like it, hopefully. I release videos every single Friday talking about all things study abroad for high school, undergrad, and graduate students. FAF-SAH is the free application for federal student aid. So here in the United States, we basically have two different levels of basic government. So we have the federal government, which is what most people know around the world, which is based in Washington, D.C. So is overseen by the President of the United States, whoever that is at the time. And then we have state level government. So whatever state you are living in here in the United States, you also have state level government. So that is what that kind of means for anyone who's watching. And it's like, what is the difference? But the free application for federal student aid is basically the top level of what you can receive from the federal government. So I will cover in a minute the differences between that type of aid. But I just wanted to kind of make that clear because there are also students who, depending on whatever state they live in, they apply for state aid as well. That's a little bit different. I can dive into that, maybe not as deep as I would need to for every single state, but just to kind of give that distinction of what those are. So to first start out by thinking about what this actually means. So this is what most students here in the US use to sort of look and see what they're eligible for in terms of scholarships, grants, and loans. And it's something that most students here in the US, no matter what background they're coming from, typically fill out, because again, even if you are from a family where you know you're probably not going to be eligible for loans, you may still be eligible for some type of scholarship, some type of grant. It really just depends. Every year the program changes a little bit, and so people become eligible for different things. There are some people that are not eligible for anything on the form, and there are some people that are eligible for everything. So you really just want to fill it out just to see what you are eligible for. So you have to fill it out every year if you're going to be asking for federal aid. Again, if you're asking, if you're looking towards aid from your specific institution or aid from your state, that is a little bit different. But if you're looking for federal aid, support from the federal government, you have to fill this out every year. And then also as well, if you continue on with your education as a professional, independent student in grad school, something like that, you also need to fill out a similar form. So covering the differences between the types of aid that you are eligible for from the United States federal government. So there are three basic types of aid. So scholarships, grants, and loans. So I think that most people are familiar with what loans are. It's a huge ongoing conversation in this country particularly, but even in some other countries. I know when I lived in the UK and they started raising the prices of certain individual universities, and students had to take out more maintenance loans, as they call them. That was something that was, sort of scary to them. Although in this country, most students have to take out way more money a lot of the times. And so with loans, I think most people are very clear. Now, there is a difference between federal loans that are supported by the federal government and then private loans, although I like to call them pseudo-private because they have a relationship with the federal government. So even though they are run by private companies such as Navient, which is a huge private loan company in this country, they have a direct tie with the federal government as well. And so without going into all of that, because I could spend a million years on that and so many other different things like that, the way that the federal government and private companies kind of intertwine, just wanted to point out that loans are basically things that they are types of aid that have to be repaid back. So they have a set interest rate. Sometimes it can be variable depending on what you get, but with a lot of the federal based loans, they are typically set, or they have a limit. So it's like they can only go to a certain level of interest before they, you cannot go higher than, let's say, 5% or 6%. I'm sure it's a little bit higher now, even with inflation and everything, but it has more of a limit compared to a lot of private loans, which have variable limits where you could go up to 15, 20%. So it's a lot different than that. Now, for the two that people are most excited about usually, but often get confused, scholarships and grants. So a scholarship is typically merit-based awards. So you will find that whether it be from the federal government or whether it be from state level government, whether it be from Rotary clubs, whether it be from your actual school that you're going to. Those are typically merit-based. Now, not all the time. They do have some scholarships that are financial based. It really just depends. But a lot of times that comes from the institution that you're going to. But when it comes to federal scholarships in particular, it is usually merit-based. So maybe you are someone who, you've had a 4.0, which is a grade point average, which is how we in the United States measure our it's like the metric to tell how well you're doing in school. I know that other countries have it a little bit different of how they do it. Maybe you've had a 4.0 outstanding grade point average for the past 4 years. Maybe you are someone who you are, a national honor scholar. Maybe you are someone who has really done something great, in your community, and that has also weaved in with your academics. Like, it's things like that that you're going to be judged on, so you're able to apply for these different merit-based scholarships that come directly from the federal government. So it's something that, again, is super competitive because you're competing with people from all around the country. And obviously, we have, I think we're at like 330 million people. It's a lot of people. Obviously, all of them are not college age or going to college, but it's a lot of people competing. And so you want to just keep that in mind, that it is super competitive, but that, there tends to be like a larger pool for what is available. So it's not like it's just one person, let's say in, the middle of, I don't know, Texas somewhere, just getting the one scholarship. There are multiple scholarships, but that it is competitive because it is a nationwide thing. And so with scholarships, it's always great to get because, again, you don't have to worry about paying it back. You do want to keep in mind, though, that with scholarships, there are often stipulations. So it could be where once you're in college, you have to keep a certain GPA. You have to, maybe commit to other things that you have to do. So maybe by the end of your course, you have to have said that you're gonna, maybe help whatever, let's say, entity is doing it. Maybe it's a specific scholarship that is related to the federal government. So maybe it's related to the education department or something like that. You're going to have to maybe work for them for a couple years. So there are all different types of scholarships out there, but you just want to understand what the actual expectations are with the scholarship. It is free money, but also too, there are sometimes expectations with scholarships. Now for grants, grants are interesting because a lot of people get grants confused with loans and with scholarships, sorry. And so sometimes with loans actually. And so with grants, those are often financial aid based, but it means that you don't have to pay it back. And so for example, here in the US, we have really big grant. Well, it's big in the sense of like a lot of people apply for it, the Pell Grant. And so with that, that is something that is federal based, and that is based on financial need. It's looking at specifically what people need, how many people are in their household. I think it also factors in other things like maybe background and racial makeup. I'm not completely sure. I need to double check on that, but it definitely looks at financial need. And so that is a huge one that a lot of students take advantage of. As I've talked before about, sort of the different types of study abroad programs, this is going to be really important to sort of think about. So if you have not been able to check out any of my videos, I'm going to link in the description box below, talking about, the different types of study abroad programs. I did a series on that because that comes into play when you're thinking about this. Because as I mentioned in that video series, there are basically 3 types of study abroad programs. So the first one, which is the most relevant to this conversation, is going to be institutionalized based programs. So that is if you are studying abroad through your high school, through your college, through your university. That is where you're going to find that you're going to get the most bang for your buck if you need to use student aid. So the way that basically works is, with institutionalized study abroad programs, those are programs that are hosted by your current university. So maybe you are, at, University of Texas, maybe you're at Clemson, maybe you're at NYU, maybe you're wherever, UC Berkeley, I don't know. And so that means that you are going through a program that that particular university host. And so it typically means that it is, semester-based program. And a lot of times it's going to be teachers and professors who are either, directly from your school. So they may be traveling with you over there, or the school may be so established now that they have, external and auxiliary campuses abroad in different parts of the world where they have an entire set of teachers and professors where that is all that they do is they work for that particular school. Let's say they work for UC Berkeley in France, they work for UC Berkeley in London, they work for UC Berkeley in Cuba. I don't know like where all the places are for UC Berkeley specifically, but I was just using that for an example. But that is basically how that works. So what that means is, it's a great way to sort of make things a little bit easier on you, because study abroad can be very overwhelming. And so it makes it easier on you if you are just someone who you're looking to kind of have an easy pathway. You still want to study abroad, but you don't want to have to worry about all of the sort of extra hoops that you have to go through. So, getting your visa, having to worry about, if you're actually going to know anybody, having to worry about if you're going to be able to have and find housing or how that's going to work. So along with that, also too, most schools will allow you to use any type of financial aid that you've been using throughout your entire career at their school towards study abroad. So there may be some differences with your particular university. Maybe they have it where it's like you can only use the scholarships, you can only use the grants, you can only use the loans. You'll have to definitely check with either your study abroad office if you have one, or your college counselors to be able to give you some advice on that, or the financial aid office, they will know as well. But it's a great way to be able to apply whatever you have recently received from the federal government, as well as state government too. So definitely look into that, because again, as I was saying, you also want to figure out what state government funds you can use towards study abroad. But with the federal government, depending on what types of scholarships you've gotten, those may be able to be applied to your study abroad semester, because again, it's considering that you are enrolled in the same university for that semester. Even though you're living abroad, you're still enrolled in your degree program. And most of the time when you're in an institutionalized study abroad program, you are just taking curriculum that's going to be helping you towards, your basic credits that you're going to need. It may be electives, but a lot of times it is very tailored to make sure that you are not, kind of going to be off track too much. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. Now, for the other two types of programs, so the independent programs, which is what I did when I first studied abroad, and then the complete like away programs, which I also did when I went to grad school abroad. With those, it's going to be a little bit different most of the time, unless it is tied directly to a federal program. So maybe you received a scholarship to study at, I don't know, I'm just thinking of the UK, maybe Oxford or something. Like that's going to be a little bit different. Like there are some federal scholarships that are related to specific universities in specific countries. That is where you're going to be able to sort of use that. But otherwise, the only other options for you are going to be, maybe you can find a private scholarship, so it's not related to the federal government, or, you get student loans, or you're blessed to have your family, your parents pay for it, because again, these are independent programs. So the federal government will, give out student loans to pay for those, because again, they love giving those out because you have to pay for them. And it's usually actually private loans, but a lot of times if you are on federal loans, you can transfer those over, but you can't always use the scholarship part, because again, it's not tied directly to the school that you're enrolled in. So you want to just keep that in mind, that, if you're going to be doing a program that is closely connected to your school, that is run by your school, you're usually going to be fine with using any type of federal aid that you got. But you're going to have to reevaluate your options if you want to do an independent program, which is run by usually for-profit or non-profit organizations like AIFS, like CIEE, like CEA, all of these ones that a lot of people probably know. Shout out to AIFS. I did AIFS for my entire junior year and absolutely loved it. But, it just depends on what your type of route is. Also as well, if you are someone who wants to go just, kind of completely on your own, independent, like I did for grad school, go to a different country and study, just know that you're not really going to be able to use federal funds to do that, rightfully so. The federal government should not be supporting you to study fully in a different country. That is not their business. You have to figure that out on your own. So, okay. And so I hope this video was helpful for you. I know that, like anything else, navigating the financial piece of any type of huge decision that you're going to make is very stressful. And obviously with something with college, particularly here in the US where it's so expensive, you're trying to figure out how you can save as much money as possible. I totally understand that. And so I look forward to hearing, how it's going with you guys. If you are going to be studying abroad 2022, 2023, I want to hear where you're going. So please leave a comment below. Let me know, where you're going, where you're planning to go, where you, think that you might get in. And also too, like, what are you most looking forward to with study abroad? I know that after everything that everyone has been through in these past, however, it feels like 30 years, in this past 2 years almost, that it is so exciting to be able to sort of get back out there. There are some students who are studying abroad now, but it's a little bit more modified. And so I am definitely looking forward to hearing from everyone. This is what I do. And so I love working with study abroad students every single day and cannot wait to see what 2022 and 2023 brings us for study abroad. And as I said before in the opening, I release videos every single Friday, sometimes on Wednesdays if you're lucky. And please subscribe to the channel. Please share this link with someone that you think may be interested, because as I always say, if you are a study abroad student, you're probably not going alone. You probably have friends that are also interested in learning about study abroad and studying abroad as well. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.